On Sunday it was implied that it was completed with the metaphor of the making of bread. But that doesn't mean to say that its props or its symbols cannot continue to be used. So let's test what is represented by the sugar in us, that which turns the flour, the yeast, and the dough into the flour, the yeast, and the water into dough, knowing that we have this sugar in us that can turn our life's experiences, the stories, into our own wisdom, in the intent of exploring the fire in us that bakes the dough. One of the most shattering experiences that Divine Mother dealt during the years with her was when she said to me, "What you tell people is too high for them. They don't understand what you're saying." This was very shattering. But there's that anecdote about a forum that they had with a number of religious pundits from all different persuasions, and they were discussing the saying in the Bible of Jesus when he says, "Do not throw pearls before swine, else they might turn on you and attack you." And when the forum was discussing this, one of the priests, of course, got up and said, "Well, you don't give wisdom to the ignorant because they will turn on you and abuse you and attack you." But then a certain Sufi sage responded to that, and he said, "No, I don't interpret it in this way at all. One could interpret it in the sense that if you throw pearls of wisdom before swine, those people who think that it's food and try to ingest it as food, you cannot blame them if they find it indigestible and turn on you. So you do not blame the people." And there's no doubt that you'll remember that well-told story about Mulla Nasrudin, when one day a young man saw this strange-looking apparition walking down the street with his patchwork robe and his turban askew, seeming to be in a state where he was totally unaware of himself. This young man thought, "This strange fellow, I'm going to follow him and see what he's about." So Mulla Nasrudin went over down the road, and he sat under a tree and put out his hand. And when he put out a hand, there appeared in his hand a plate of baklava. And then he put out his other hand, and in it appeared a goblet of sherbet, which he quaffed down and enjoyed. And the young man thought to himself, "I want to be able to do that too." So he went up to the mullah and he asked him, "Will you teach me how I can do this?" And the mullah said, "Yes, but first you have to pass a test. Do you want the easy test or the hard test?" The young man, thinking he was a little bit of a fellow, said, "Oh, I'll take the hard one." And so the mullah said to him, "Well, tell me, how would you make a hole in your fence big enough for your chickens to get into your neighbor's yard, but not big enough for his chickens to come into your yard and peck?" The young man scratched his head and went off walking down the road. The mullah smiled to himself and thought, yes, he's on his way. And then there's a Sufi story. It's a Sufi story about a king. And this king had amongst all his advisors and all, a Sufi dervish. And one day he said to this dervish, he said, I know that you dervishes have a knowledge, a spirituality that is in a long line of sages and great saints. Now, since I know this, I believe that I'm ready for you to teach me the way of the dervish. Well, said the dervish, yes, this is certainly very possible, but, we have to wait for a suitable occasion. And so the king kind of scratched his head about this, and he had to accept really what the dervish was saying, even though being a king he wanted his answer now. But the days passed, and the king would see the dervish around his court, and the dervish would be talking to people and going about dervish business, but nothing more was said about the demand that the king had made. Until one day, someone came to the king in the hearing of other advisors and the dervish, and he said, there is a singer called Daud, and he has the voice of a nightingale. He sings sweeter than all the angels. And something ignited in the king. He wanted to hear this singer. So he immediately sent a messenger to this singer to ask him to come to the court. But the singer sent back a message to the king saying, a singer such as I only sings when it comes upon me to sing. I will not come. Well, the king was very angry. He wanted to hear this singer sing now. But the dervish, overhearing this, said, I can make the singer sing. The king said, let's go now. So the dervish asked the king to give an order for some humble garments, not his royal robes, to be bought. So the king put on his simple peasant garments and accompanied the dervish to the house of the singer. They knocked on the door. The singer opened the door and a request was made to the singer. The singer said, I'm not singing today. And he shut the door in their face. So the dervish said, wait, come. And so they went around the house to a window. And when they were there, the dervish himself began to sing the favorite song of Daud, the singer. Now the king was mesmerized by the song, the words, the melody of this song. And he was transported. But what the king did not know was that the dervish on purpose sang the song slightly off key. So when the singer, Daud, heard his song being sung off key, he immediately burst into song and sang his song which sent both the king and the dervish into a transported state of consciousness. The king was so overwhelmed by what he had heard and experienced when he went back to his palace. He sent great gifts of gold and jewelry to the singer. But the dervish had something that he had to say to the king. And so he said to him, "You see, it is about time, the place, and the people." So taking these three stories, anecdotes, whatever you might call them, and like the flour, the yeast and the water, using our sugar to catalyze them, make them into the dough of our wisdom. What is it that arises for you as an understanding? What is the dough that you make out of these stories? Remembering that now we're going to explore the nature of our fire, the nature of that in us that has been with us since the beginning of our remembering. It is the bread that nourishes us and potentially nourishes all of life. But first, our sugar, claiming that which we know turns every experience, whether it's a series of stories or some life event, into wisdom. Not this was good and this was bad, or somebody else's fault, or taking those experiences, turning them into wisdom. That's our sugar. And how we